Thanks for watching. I'm Margot Kinberg, and this is In the Spotlight, a closer look at a crime novel. Protagonists are the heart of a lot of crime novels, or any novels really. And the more interesting and unusual a protagonist is in one way or another, the more the reader can be drawn in. Of course, that can be pushed too far, but let's look at an interesting protagonist today and turn the spotlight on Sascha Rothchild's Blood Sugar. As the real action in the novel begins, Miami psychologist Ruby Simon is being interrogated by Miami police detective Keith Jackson. She is suspected of having murdered her husband Jason, and she has been brought in for questioning. It's not spoiling the story to say that Ruby is not guilty, but she has committed 3 other murders. She isn't a psychopath, but she has taken 3 other lives. As the story goes on, we learn about Ruby's life. She doesn't have a background of abuse or poverty or heavy drug use. In fact, she's a highly intelligent woman who's very well educated and has set up a successful practice in Miami. So what made her kill? Each part of the story tells a part of Ruby's history and sets a scene for the murder she's committed. As we learn more about her, we learn what her motivations for killing have been, and we follow along as she moves from one part of her life to the next. It's clear as the novel goes on that Ruby loved her husband. Still, Detective Jackson becomes more and more convinced that she killed Jason, and there is solid evidence against her. So the question becomes, can she clear her name and possibly find out who killed Jason? And can she do that without anyone knowing about the other lives she's taken? If she's going to be successful, Ruby will have to uncover a web of lies and deceit. So, what's in this novel? What holds the novel together? What are the elements behind it? Well, as I say, Ruby is a central part of the novel. The story is told from her point of view, first person, past tense. So we learn things as she does, and we see the world through her eyes. As her story goes on, she explains why she killed, and it's not really hard to imagine a person killing under those circumstances. That said, though, it's fair to ask if Ruby has sociopathic tendencies. Her reaction to having taken a life and her views of the people she's killed might make one wonder. On the other hand, she has close relationships with people, she loves her husband, she cares about her clients, and so on. So perhaps she's not a psychopath. Rothchild more or less leaves it to the reader to decide. It's also left to the reader to decide about the murders Ruby has committed. Were they justified? Another element in the story is the way the police go about looking for evidence when there's been a crime. While this is not a police procedural, there are updates about evidence collection, witness interviews, and so forth. There's an element, too, of the impact of a lurid trial. There's social media reaction, television news coverage, and more. There are consequences for Ruby, too, as the online trolls gun for her, former friends turn against her, and so on. The structure of the story isn't traditional. It begins with the first murder, moves to an interrogation years later, then goes back to tell the rest of Ruby's story with occasional updates as the search for Jason's killer continues. Readers who prefer a strictly chronological approach will notice this. That said, though, there are clear transitions, so it's easy to follow along with the action. The story isn't light or happy, but there is some wit in it and a few lighter scenes. Blood Sugar tells the story of a woman who's killed before, but who isn't guilty this time. It has a solid Miami setting, a set of interesting psychological questions, and a protagonist who, by all rights, shouldn't be sympathetic, but who many readers like. This has been In the Spotlight. I'm Margot Kinberg. Thanks for watching.